time for Q&A in the Kitchen. It's a podcast and YouTube series where tattoo artists and body piercer talk about some of the more common questions that are asked by those that collect tattoos and piercings. Brought to you by Skin Kitchen Tattoo in the Axiom Body Piercing Studio. So, we're on the second to the last episode of the second season, and we've got the usual crew here.
I don't know if we've signed the contract for the second season yet.
Yeah, well, we're done almost.
We're looking at it. I mean, we got to talk to our...
Meet up with the YouTube executives.
Got to talk to our union.
Yeah, we're going into the third here soon.
Merry Christmas, guys. That's coming up, right? This episode here?
I think
Christmas
this
should be right next week.
Right before Christmas.
Yep.
I'm Jack.
Or right around Christmas.
I tattoo at Skin Kitchen.
I'm
That's
Westley.
I own it.
I work for him.
I'm Jimmy. I work for him.
That's DaVo. He's the piercer
The
extraordinaire
extraordinaire
of Axiom.
And the owner of the Axiom.
He works for all of us.
Right. So what are we going to gab about today?
This one comes from Wesley,
Oh no.
Yeah.
longtime viewer.
Are we gonna be allowed to say some of this on the air? Or?
I had a client earlier this week that posed this question. Which,
I know,
Yeah,
I'm
it comes
just-
through me. But
it's
yeah.
just- I thought it would be fun.
And she's a good viewer, too.
You're never
Yep.
funny.
Thank you for watching.
Looking anyway.
Well, yeah.
All right,
Here's your
so basically what we're going to do is talk about whether or not these creams that claim they can remove tattoos work.
Yeah.
Also, I think we're going to talk a little bit about what is the proper way to have them removed and what you should kind of look for.
We
Yeah.
probably touched on some basic before episodes, but it's good to revisit some of these
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
especially as things change.
Yeah, and as we learn or figure out things, we want
Yep.
to share it with you. So.
I mean,
Yeah.
gosh, we used to use a belt sander to take them off. Now we're using lasers.
Right.
Yeah, heat up a spoon on the stove, just
We've
bite on a
gotten-
piece of leather and just go for
Yeah,
it,
man,
bro.
we've come a long way, baby.
I mean, Brenda is gone, man. You don't want that on your arm anymore.
No, and that just says Enda.
Yeah. So,
Just a nice sharp razor.
how do you want to start that off? Are we talking about these abrasion creams, or
I've done a couple of cover-up tattoos, and she's got one on her chest that she wants to, instead of covering up, maybe lighten up and get removed instead. And she just on the way out from finishing up one session, she asked me, do you need those tattoo creams, those removal creams that really work? And short answer to her at the moment was no. But I hadn't researched them in a couple of years, and I thought I'd look into them. I did earlier this week and looked into them, and short answer is still no.
Yeah.
But at least I took some time to understand
Right.
what the premise or the idea of how they're supposed to work
Right.
is. And the reality is what I understand. It's just topical agents like a lotion. The tattoo is in the dermis. You got your 3 layers, and we're in the second layer where our ink is, the dermis. There's the epidermis is your outer layer. Dermis is under that, and then...
you've got your
subdermis or the one underneath that.
Right.
But your topical layers just don't get down to that second layer where our ink's at. A lot of them are used, they use kind of an caustic abrasion kind of thing where it kind of, it can leave you with a scar.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
it just basically kind of fades a little bit. It's not going to get rid of it.
It's nothing that you couldn't do yourself by going to the hardware store. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, do not.
Don't
not
do that.
Do that.
Basically, from what I understand, I had an artist working for me years ago, and he had a piece on his chest that he just hated. And at the time, I guess I don't really want to say the name of the product, but there was a product just being tossed all over the place about, hey, remove your tattoo. So he got it. It was
I think I remember
whatever
what you're talking about.
Yeah, and basically what it was is it was this little electric device, basically kind of like a little agitator.
Oh, that one, yep.
And then it came with basically like a crystalline type of abrasive, like lava soap after you've lathered it.
Jesus.
And you basically use this agitator device to kind of drill and sand your skin off. No.
No thanks.
No.
You're gonna at very least you're gonna damage that skin to the point where it's never really gonna be the same. You could cause pigmentation issues there where it's gonna be discolored. It's gonna be harder to tattoo, and even when you do tattoo it, that skin's gonna be scarred, and the rest isn't, and it's gonna cause a little bit of a. So yeah, talk to me more about maybe. There's another cream, like more of a chemical type of...
The macrophage way was the other way I read it. So there's the kind of caustic, almost burning it off, but just the outer layers.
Like like Nair, burning the hair off, but way worse.
Yeah, mild chemical.
And then there's some others other creams that have
Sounds horrible.
claim to replace the microphages in your blood.
And explain what those are.
And so when you get tattooed, And you have cells in your bloodstream called microphages, and they are there to remove impurities in your blood and your skin. They work with your blood to carry things into your blood system, go into your liver, and then poop them out, whatever you don't need in your body. It does that when you get tattooed. It takes a lot of that ink away. A lot of that ink leaks out right after a fresh tattoo. The reason it stays is because the pigment particles, a lot of them, are too big for the macrophages. If you were look under a microscope, some chunks of ink are bigger than the cells that are eating the small chunks of
And
cells.
is it true that the macrophages that they do collect that ink, the smaller particles, and they do get them out the other end? I think the way I understand it is the macrophages that are focusing on the pieces that are too big, they will surround it and keep it held there.
Yeah.
So it doesn't go out, and harm anything.
Yeah.
So it'll take what it can and get rid of it, but the rest
keeps
of
a lot
it,
of it
it'll
locked
just
there.
hold it
Contains
there.
it.
And the way I understand it, it slowly does just kind of eat and peck away at that at some
That
degree.
might be the fading over the long term.
Yeah, and
that's-
along with
that's
UV,
the first
I
thing
don't
that
know.
comes to mind to me is everybody's experienced it. If you have a tattoo that's 20, 30 years old,
Yeah.
the lines start to fuzz
They-
out a little bit.
Yeah, they relax a bit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they have
That's the
something
breakdown
to do
of
with
that.
Yeah.
They're eating away at that
Yeah.
crispy
Yeah.
It's a
edge,
breakdown of that
maybe.
collagen,
Some of these
fatty-
creams
Yeah.
claim to replace more macrophages in your skin to help break those
to
down.
boost, speed up that
Yep.
process. Of
Now, the
revival.
reason that
Okay.
doesn't work years after you've got your tattoo already healed up is the macrophages are still the same size. They're not going to eat the bigger particles that are already healed and in the skin.
Right.
And as we said before, topical agents just don't get down to that layer
it's not
anyway.
Well,
so it's like,
and see, that's the biggest question I have is why would they think any of this would work?
Yeah.
We're not going to if you absorbed chemicals into your skin, we would all die on a regular basis.
Well, and you do to a degree. You do.
does
Your
flow.
skin
Some.
does absorb, but it doesn't absorb in a way to where you're going to be able to get a chemical agent that is able to
Yeah.
destroy a pigment in your skin to safely
Yep.
pass through the
If
your
your
outer layers
skin-
of skin and
We'd
get in
just
there,
be
do the job, and then go away
We'd
without.
just be walking around with blood pouring
Yeah.
out of ours.
if your skin's
and
loose enough for that,
it'd be like
that
something out of
cream to get down to the
Hellraiser.
tattoo, then I would only have to rub the ink on your skin to get the ink to stay in there if
And
it's that absorbent.
And I think that's a big, or for a lot of people, that's kind of a misunderstanding they have is that the tattoo is not on your skin.
It's in it.
It's inside your skin. The only reason you're able to see that pigment is because your skin is somewhat translucent and you can see through it, and that pigment is different enough from your skin color that it creates a
Shows
contrast enough to where you can see it.
Yeah.
That's why you can make a yellow line and you really can't see it. You make a black line,
You can see
it
it.
pops out. The contrast, So people, don't understand that.
Right.
And, quick again, hold a newspaper behind a piece of glass and you can read it. The more you tint that glass, the
Yes, you
harder
can
it's
read
going to
it.
get to
Right.
read, and the more the letters aren't as crisp.
Yep.
It's the same thing with skin.
Yep.
Yeah.
The lighter and crispier and redheaded and
Right.
bright and glowy you are,
Yeah.
man, you might as
better
well
it's
have
gonna turn
batteries
out.
because the color's just going to jump.
And we have talked about this before,
Yeah.
how even like arm hair reflects light.
Yes, absolutely.
Dry skin, because you have
Yep.
little tiny particles of dry skin on the top. That's why it looks ashy. like I do right
Exfoliate,
now.
man.
exfoliate
It might.
lotion.
I tell you, you spend so much money and time on, you sit in that chair for hours and hours. On top of that, you spend good money that you worked hard for to get this beautiful canvas wrapped around you. And why not?
Why not take
Yeah.
care
Take
of it?
shave your arm, especially in the summer. Every probably 2-3 times a summer. I'll knock the hair off my arms, and man, it always is just like it's almost brand new.
Yep,
Just
so
things
bright
pop.
and crisp.
And then if you exfoliate a bit, you just kind of scrub your arms a bit, and then you get a little lotion on there. Man, your tattoos will look so good, and you'll
like
be so
washing
much
and
more
waxing your
happy
car.
with them. Really, you kind of rediscover them a bit and go, these are pretty freaking rad.
Yeah, and
That's
why.
so it helps.
If I'm taking a photo for you guys and it's an older tattoo, that's the first thing I go and go, yep, you want to put some Lubriderm on that?
Yeah,
Let's-
absolutely.
Let's moisten that up a little bit. We
Yeah,
used to
get the
call it-
loofah,
Yeah.
get a
Shine it
good
a bit.
loofah on it.
Get it buffed
Scrub
up.
it hard.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
keep those loofahs away from your piercings because they are evil.
Yeah,
Oh
when it
my
comes to
God!
don't
They grab my
know.
nipple rings so every morning. Horrible.
Yeah, I gave up on those
hate
years
it.
ago. go. No. So there's no way a chemical is going to go into your skin that deep, destroy this pigment, and leave you
No,
just happy.
especially not
apparently.
consistently.
Yep.
So lasers are really the best
That's what I
reliable
recommend.
place, right?
The only consistent thing that's been around for a while.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and they've gotten way better than they used to
Gotten
be.
way better. They're a whole lot more easier for a trained technician to operate.
To
with.
actually use and not damage you.
Yep, exactly.
I
And
put the tattoos on. I don't remove the tattoo.
through a couple of YouTube videos that I watched myself, there's a channel called Smarter Every Day we've talked about,
Yeah.
and this guy Destin, we're unaffiliated with that channel, but he does a really awesome tattoo removal interview with a technician.
And we'll
they-
try to put a card up or
Yeah.
put a link. In
They
the
do a little
description.
really detailed explanation on how tattoo laser removal actually works, how it, like down to the molecules of what they're explaining, how the laser heats up the pigments, the molecules in the pigment, and break them apart so that those it hits it hard, so it breaks it apart into smaller chunks of pigment,
So
so that
guess
those
what can take it-
macrophages
there you go.
can go
And
through
then
and eat
absorb
them
it.
and take them away.
Yeah, it's just like, you have a bunch of workers are standing there, but they're looking at this gigantic rock.
Yeah,
And
yep.
they're like, all of us can't even
You
get
bring
that.
in your laser hammer, and
But you
smash
come
the rock.
in with the equipment and start chipping away at it. Oh
Yep.
yeah, pretty soon, bang, bang,
Yep.
bang, bang, bang. I had my whole left forearm laser treated twice, which was enough to get it, redone, and it flipping hurts, man.
Sucks.
Like,
Well, you're getting burned basically.
yeah.
It's controlled burns.
And I tell
Oh, yeah.
people the way it felt, and this was 10 plus years ago.
Oh.
It wasn't a pico laser or whatever, which I think is kind of the neat
think
one now.
that's- Yep.
But she did a great job. But in black pigment does remove easier than a lot of the colors do, and mine was all black. But what I tell people is it feels like like when you're frying bacon in
Yeah.
that
Black grace,
That's
yeah.
black.
bam,
Those
and it hits ya.
little
Yep.
It's like that, but it's
lot.
Quick and off too.
yeah. So my whole forearm, the removal took maybe 8 to 10 minutes. The tattoo, took 15 hours.
yeah.
So I mean, it is fast. It's intense, but you can suck it up. And again, those they have topical pain, management, and you can use that as well.
Yep.
So we can conclude that everything to do with tattooing, putting them on, taking them off, all hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's brutal. It hurts a little bit.
It's brutal.
It
It's
is,
a
it is.
brutal
I'm
thing,
just
and
being silly.
but really it is, and that's our job is to make it as unbrutal and as enjoyable
Absolutely.
as it can be,
And it's clean and safe.
But at
Right.
the end of the day, I mean, we
it hurts.
sharpened
It
some
sucks.
metal stuff, and we're jamming it into you to make a neat
Yeah.
picture.
While I love how much our industry has grown, I would say both of whether cream or laser point removal, it points out how important it is to make sure you like what you're getting forever.
Yeah,
Removing
yeah.
them, whether it's a cover-up, which is a hassle to do, or getting it laser removed, which is a hassle and
Yeah.
painful and expensive.
Think before you ink.
Yeah. So you have to get Brenda removed.
And research your artist.
Absolutely.
And with the removal on the laser, I think there's kind of two methods you can go, and that's completely trying to remove it. In some cases, depending on the pigment, it won't go all the way down.
Yeah.
It won't get back to normal tissue. The other method is basically reducing how impactive that particular tattoo is,
Yeah.
and then covering it.
Yeah.
Just lighten it up.
Yeah. When I was getting mine done, there were certain lasers that worked better on certain colors because of the wavelength and how how science works. But now I don't know much about the Pico other than I've heard great things.
That
Yes.
YouTube video, he kind of goes in and explains why
Okay.
certain colors work better
Right.
because you have to turn the temperature up certain degrees for the
Right.
lasers. And
Yeah. So black, it's got such a high contrast. It reacts with the laser really well. Oranges, yellows, reds, those can be
If I remember
tricky.
correctly, they have different color filter tips. I think he said
it
in the
changes
video.
the wavelength
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
target
different
That's interesting.
colors.
So black tattoos way easier to remove. Color tattoos could take several passes with several different filters or whatever to remove those certain colors.
Yep.
But the great thing is oranges, yellows, even a lot of times reds and stuff. If you don't like the tattoo, it probably doesn't look good, and it probably doesn't look good because it's faded anyway.
Yeah.
So those blacks and blues and purples, those are really the ones that are jumping off. So if you can knock those down pretty good,
It's going to make it
depending
a lot
on where
easier
it,
to cover.
yeah, or just kind of be gone.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, really, it'll
Breaks
kind
it
of
up.
fade off
Yep.
depending on where it is. But
And I do see a trend of tattoo artists, and I use that with the parentheses,
quotes.
are going out and taking a day-long course to become laser removal technicians.
No, man, I have a job already.
Yeah, the thing about it is laser removal usually is cheaper than doing a tattoo. If you're looking at a quarter sleeve at $125 to $200 an hour, you could have close to $1,000 invested
Easily
in a sleeve. Laser removal, the last couple times I've looked at it, they either quote by the size or they quote by the period, and I want to say it's not even a tenth that. So, yeah.
It's come down a bunch then, I guess.
Yeah,
I mean,
I guess.
it was like, you know.
It's way more expensive for a
getting
long
your
time.
freaking grill
But-
golded out back in the day. It was
crazy.
But
it was
technology's
almost
getting
unreachable.
cheaper. And,
Yeah.
and a
But, you know,
tattoo shop can get certified to learn it, so maybe there's a reason that I can see
Yeah,
it coming down.
it might
I
be
haven't
getting
looked into
easier and all that, and that's
Yeah,
great.
cool.
I just, but it comes down to the consumer and how much do they care about what kind of service they get. Well, they can look into what kind of training did you do? Oh, this guy online, I watched a video, certified me, gave me this thing, I laminated it, didn't look neat, have a seat.
And he also I can
I
marry you
graduated from
too.
YouTube Tech.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, it all comes down to research, know what you're getting into, it's worth looking into. It's your freaking body,
And the reason I brought up price is that a tattoo artist has a potential to make that kind of money is taking their time to do removal.
Right.
And they're probably not that great to begin with.
Yeah,
That
well,
depends on the business to set up their prices to make it efficient for them to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess if I had, if I had a choice whether putting them on or taking them off, I definitely want to put them on.
Me too.
And if I had maybe spare time where I wasn't putting them on and I needed to fill that with something, then I might look at removal. Thank God I'm lucky enough now to where even if I wanted to do removal, I'd have to take time away from tattooing, and I'm
it just
not
doesn't
interested
make any
enough in
sense to
taking
me.
them off to take time away from me putting them on.
It'd be like me doing only piercing removals, like only removing dermals at $20 a
Right.
head, and just having them out the door all day long for that to make that $20 for 20 minutes of work.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any
I mean,
sense.
I imagine if we had one here, it was a thing we were doing. I can't speak for other businesses, but I imagine we'd probably just stick with the same hourly rate, whether you're putting it on, taking it off.
But it's so much faster and the cost is so much higher that you really that's tough because those lasers
Well, I
are
was
so
speaking
expensive.
from the perspective of the artist wing. Do I put them on or take them off? Which one pays me
Yeah.
better? If I'm charging the same hourly rate and it takes me 20 minutes or an hour or whatever, I'm still charging the same hourly rate.
Yeah,
I'm
true.
not really making more or less for whatever time I've spent on removal.
True, and
But
I guess
again,
if
that's
you
just
had,
different from business
Yeah,
to
if you had
business.
clientele enough to where you could just bang through and get 30 to 50 or 60
Yep.
bucks a person,
Yeah,
then
makes
yeah.
sense.
No.
And I'm not sure what the regulations are.
Yeah,
Because that's borderline.
It's going to change.
we were talking about
It's going to be
last
different,
night.
I
We haven't
think,
gotten
different
around
states,
to it.
right?
Is it gonna? Yeah. And so if you are considering it, check with your local state
Yeah, for sure.
Department of Health, whatever
Just like
they're called.
tattoo artists, shop around to a few different
do
people
your
who have
homework.
laser removals and see who's got the 5 stars and why they're certified for that fifth
Yeah,
star.
and check out their portfolio. Look at their work.
Absolutely.
And
Ask
I
them every
really,
question
I
you
really
have.
do believe that going to a medical office is probably going to be a better option for you.
It can be. It's so hard to tell.
These
You
days
can
it's
walk
really
into these
hard.
places and it's all shiny and there's a white lab coat and everything else, and they're just a guy or a girl or somebody
Yeah.
trying to make a living, and it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
It
I'm
doesn't
not-
matter what the sign says over the door. You got to go and ask your questions and everything else, because it's like, and the reason I say that is because at least at a tattoo shop or something like that, that we love tattoos.
Yeah.
You know that that's what we do. It's how we eat, sleep, breathe it. A medical office, they just I don't know if they have that same level of
It's the
understanding or
crossover
care.
experience.
And yeah, kinda. And I just think that they're gonna.
I'm not against them being in a tattoo shop eventually.
I think
Doctors,
the-
a lot of times, they kind of have a stigma against tattoos. So if one comes
Yeah, I
in, it
know.
looks a little rough, they're like, "Oh, we got to scrub it,
Yep.
and we got to put you on
Right.
antibiotics, and we got to do all this stuff." So
Whereas we'll look
that's,
at it and say,
that's
it's just
the
a little
reason I
faded.
say
Your arm just needs shaded with some lotion, and we'll tell
Yeah,
you it's
yeah.
not that
Here's the
bad.
thing, though: if you are not doing it correctly, you can cause like 3rd-degree burns on.
Oh,
something.
So
Ooh.
So that's the part that I would
Here's
be
my-
concerned about.
here's my thought here. if you're not doing a piercing correctly, you can hurt somebody. And
Granted.
it's a medical procedure
Yeah.
that you've learned how to do.
Yeah.
No, don't call it a medical
But
procedure.
it's-
You've already been investigated for practicing medicine.
That's fair,
and
but
had a license twice.
not a medical procedure, but it is you're doing
It is a procedure.
surgical.
Well, you guys
is
are
probably
too.
more accurate. But you've been trained on it,
Yeah.
and I wager I know more about piercings than laser removal. But I wager there's a lot more knowledge in your field
Oh, yeah.
than somebody who can pick up a
I'm just
laser and be
wondering
trained
if
on it in a
it's-
day.
If it's going to fall along the same size as like electrolysis, like you
Yeah,
go into the place,
I
you
don't
get a
know.
foot
Maybe
massage,
so,
or
yeah.
petty,
And
and
it-
they remove your tattoo.
And I
Yep.
think it matters. Like the first result of a laser removal I saw was way back in the first shop I worked in, back in the 90s in Arizona.
They were horrible.
And this woman came
That's
in.
when I first saw
and,
them.
and she wanted, get something else or something, or she was a tattoo. And she mentioned something about she had a tattoo and got it removed. And I'm like, what? Oh, you did? How? She's like, laser removal. It was on her calf, or was on her calf. I swear, if you've seen Nightmare or Freddy Krueger's face,
It's a
it was
burn
Freddy.
victim.
It was like a chunk of Freddy
Wrinkly.
Krueger's face, like grafted onto her calf. And she was like, "Yeah, my husband didn't like it," and blah blah blah. And I'm like, "Does
He
he
likes
like
the scar?
that?"
Well, back in the day, they only had the
Right.
one kind of laser, and
Well,
it would hit
right.
you, and it would
So,
blister up.
So this is that's what I'm getting at. So, and then you'd see pictures of these big blisters and
horrible.
water blisters and scars and bleeding and just these horrific things. So now when you zip up to 2020 and you and the information comes across to your brain of, oh yeah, you can just take a day course or a week course and you can start doing that. It does set off some bells, but you're right. Things have gotten better. They've gotten easier to use. They've gotten safer, and it probably is relatively easy to do. It probably
I'm
is.
sure.
There might, there's probably safety measures in there where it's way harder to. But like we can scar the crap out of
yeah.
somebody.
Yeah,
We
you
can
can really
drill
do
a
some
hole into
damage.
somebody, and it's probably going to be the same with that laser. But the likelihood of doing that is probably a lot less than it was 20 years ago. And the technology is better, and it's probably less likely to mess you up. But it is worth, I think, commenting on. It does, I'm only commenting from this tiny little perspective. I don't know a lot about it. I haven't taken the course. I don't know anybody who has.
Right.
I haven't seen the results. Nothing. But being around it from the kind of get-go when it started, and then hearing that it just takes a day course is a little bit shocking. But
Yeah.
it probably is fine. I
Yeah.
don't
Learn
know.
how to
it's-
drive
it's
a
kinda
car
like
in the
it's-
same time.
Say what?
You can get a license to drive a car, and it's about the same amount of time,
Right.
basically.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Like I said,
You
it's
can
just
also get a license to do cosmetic tattooing in the
Yeah.
state of Iowa in the same amount of time.
So it's
Yeah.
shocking, but it's
We've
kind of
seen the results
comparable
of
to
that.
many other things in our society.
that's why knowing
your
about your
homework.
artists,
Yep.
looking at their portfolio, talking to people that have experienced their service, all of that is so freaking important. I know back when I was getting my first tattoos, before I was in it, I thought if it said tattoo over the door, they could just do whatever you
Tattoos,
wanted.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
just, they're all the same. They're just a guy. They got the thing.
Oh, little did
Here,
you
do
know.
this, monkey boy. It would, it didn't even occur to me, and I can't blame anybody else for kind of thinking that too.
Right.
But oh man, don't.
Don't.
Oh, don't.
That's a very wrong.
Oh man, especially now, it's so hard. Back in the day, there was like one place to choose
Yeah.
from within 4 hours.
that's
you know?
usually why you got that
Yeah.
crappy
Right,
tattoo.
exactly.
It was
Now
always
there
available.
is just so many of us, out there that it really, really, more now than ever, it really pays to just look at what you want done and how good are they.
And I try not to act surprised when customers come in because I get it. Tattoo removal, you would ask a tattoo guy. I get it.
Right.
But it shocks me sometimes because I'm like, I don't, it's like a motorcycle salesman.
Yeah.
Hey man, do you know where I can get a car? Like a car dealership? Because I sell motorcycles.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't, I put tattoos on. I don't remove them. I don't.
Yeah, I can
Yeah,
kind
you
of.
know.
Well, and if I was just a guy or girl out there and I had a tattoo I wanted gone, I'd start a tattoo shop too.
Yeah,
Me too.
Because
Yeah,
they
yeah.
obviously at one point one of their
Absolutely.
clients is at least.
Yeah, I mean-
and we used to refer to a plastic surgery.
Yep.
Guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he went out of business or whatever. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah,
what
and that's where I got
happened
mine done at a place here locally years and years ago. That's no longer there.
But just forgive your artists if they act a little shocked because you know what I mean. It's like,
Yeah,
hey, how do I take this off? Like, I'm not sure.
But
I
it-
don't know
yeah.
how to put it on.
But at the same time, you really shouldn't be that shocked. I
No,
mean,
not
where-
anymore.
who
Back in
else
the
are they going
day-
to call? Who
Well,
else are they going to ask?
Now it's more prevalent, but back in the day,
Yeah.
like it it would take me by surprise 20 years ago. I'm like, what? You came to a tattoo shop to figure out how to get rid
Take it
of
off?
one?
Yeah.
Like, huh?
Yeah, we go the other way. We're 180.
We're putting them on.
Yeah.
But it's changing. A lot of
Oh, yeah.
shops and are doing some form of removal. It seems, and it's
Yeah, a
getting
lot
more
of-
common. And that's great because
Yeah.
you know what? If that didn't exist, then there is a finite amount of skin out there.
Right.
But if you can erase it and I can
And start
tattoo the
over?
same chunk,
Yeah, man.
bring it on,
Let's
man.
do it.
That's not hurting anything. I
No.
mean, sweet. You know.
So you got
And-
that arm lasered
and
off,
you know,
and then
at the same
reworked right over.
at the same time, that also benefits us in the fact that the scary thing about a tattoo is that it's so permanent.
Not
But if it
anymore.
gets easier and easier and easier to take them off, more and more people are going to be like, oh yeah, I'll get it, and I could always just get it
Right.
scrubbed or zapped or whatever that's
Right.
going to be the thing. So it only benefits us as long as it's being done safely
Absolutely.
and it's
And
not hurting people.
Since you've been through the process, what type of aftercare did it involve?
You know what?
was
That's
that?
very interesting, and this is only my experience.
Okay.
And this, like I said, this was 20 years ago, and I'm sure things are different. But when I got it done the first time, she recommended I keep it wrapped and I keep lotion on it, and I kind of keep it bandaged for a while and all that stuff. And man, the healing was just awful.
Yeah.
It was
That's what I'd
painful.
heard.
It was sore. It was worse
Healing
than
a
healing a
burn.
tattoo. It was really, really bad. So the second time I went in, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to heal this like I heal a tattoo because it's
It's an abrasion.
yeah, it's about about as much trauma as you would if you sat there for a while getting tattooed. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to heal like and it healed so much better.
Yep.
So much easier, way less pain.
It's almost that's that cross experience between doctors and artists.
Yeah,
where
maybe.
A doctor says heal it this way. We're like, well, as an artist,
Right.
I have a different experience, and I know this works very similar this way.
And I can only assume it's because it's safer for the doctor to go, keep that bandaged, keep all the crap off of it. It's going to take longer. It's going to hurt more. I don't care. I just don't want you to get sick. I don't want you
He's
to.
idiot-proof.
You know what?
It's kind
Yeah,
of how the
so-
evolution of piercing aftercare has gone.
Yeah.
Initially, it was a lot about doing all these drastic things to make sure that you didn't get an infection.
Right.
And that's kind of the medical
why your body's
approach
there.
is we're going to do everything we possibly can to make sure that even though you're healthy and you have a strong immune system, there's no possible way that you're
Yeah.
going to get an infection.
Right. So so I get that,
Yeah.
but I was so used to healing skin wounds, dermal abrasions and that, so it was way easier for me to keep 10% of my brain on it all the time, because I'd done it 100 times. But for a normal Joe
For a
Schmo
novice,
who maybe
yeah.
that's their only tattoo, they've never really messed with it. It's a lot more tedious, and you have to, you have to mind it a lot more. You can't just stuff it under a bandage and forget
Yeah.
about it.
Right.
But if you can do that, great. But for the average guy or girl, it's going to be safer, even if it does
Yeah.
prolong the pain and the
To
uncomfort.
do it the other way.
So I don't know what it would be now. I would assume if it's only getting better, it's going to cause less damage to your skin. I imagine you would hope it would heal better, and it would be a lot less invasive and painful.
And,
hope
and
so.
one of the main advantages of it becoming more accessible is those that have gotten tattoos in their youth that are negatively affecting them for employment or
right.
gang affiliation or racist affiliation. They can easily remove those.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've always thought that the Iowa law should be changed to allow minors by court order, if they have offensive tattoos or crime-related tattoos, to have them removed. I think
Yeah.
it was Texas or Oklahoma that did that.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Same thing. I've heard of places doing towns, counties, whatever. They'll do a chunk of time or whatever where if you want this tattoo removed, you go talk to them, and they open up these windows and they have this money set aside to do that, to give people kind of a fresh
Give back
start,
to
to
the
erase that
community.
crap that they thought was cool.
Yeah, I mean,
know?
everybody makes a mistake.
Yeah,
During
yeah.
that 2 month or 2 years that they were a total screw up,
Right,
Which
right.
we all went through that in one way, shape, or form.
Right.
So the only difference is we don't have a 13 or whatever tattooed on our necks. All right. You think we've hit that pretty hard?
I
and
think
got
so.
as
I think
far
we've
as
covered
we
it.
can
And
through
you know what? I'd like to say though, if anybody out there has had removal done, especially like with the Pico laser or anything, and you're willing to share your experience, please do, because I've
post
only
it down in the comments.
That's what the comments are for.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or if
let
we
us
didn't
know.
cover something that you have a question about,
right
leave it in the comments. And
yeah,
because
like Jimmy said, we put them on, and we don't take them off, and really the only knowledge we get is knowledge that we get from our clients that experienced it, or if we have, or if we go out and actually search for that information.
Right.
So if you've had any kind of, if you've tried the lotions or anything,
let us know.
Post that, because man, that's going to help some people out that are kind of thinking about.
Yeah, more information.
At the heart of this channel is us sharing that information that we've learned,
because
we've learned it from other people. So it's passing it along, paying it forward, etc.
Absolutely.
And we love it. I love going to the comments, and people have answered other people's questions.
Happily prove us
when
wrong
they do it
if
correctly.
We say something.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Please, don't be shy. We want to hear from you.
Absolutely.
And because you're going to help us, and then we can turn around, and you might not have a platform that you could spread that knowledge, but we've got we're working on one. Your experience.
A few people shout outs for their things.
Yeah, your experience could help
out.
someone else, and keep them out of harm's way. Why would you not?
And I'm always happy to learn new stuff too, personally.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's part of the body art industry.
There it is.
And the little family we all belong to.
Indeed.
Well, you've either been watching or listening to Q&A in the Kitchen. It's the podcast and YouTube series that comes out every other Sunday. We do the video version, then we do the podcast version. You can find this wherever podcasts are at, and you can also find this on YouTube, of course. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know that might be interested. Also, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Hit that notification bell if you're on YouTube. If you're elsewhere, you can subscribe right there. Spotify, iHeart, iTunes.
Do you think anybody's still listening?
Oh, I'm sure they are. But anyway,
I hit like next at this point.
We got to start hiding stuff at the end.
No, people try that. That doesn't really work. I'm like,
or
I'm falling for
or
that.
it could be the really annoying ones that this is who we are. Okay, before we get any further, let me blah 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 for 15 minutes,
That's
and you're like,
zip.
Yeah, there's no right way to do this. Also check out our merch store. links in the description. Till next time, here's hoping all your piercings and tattoos heal with ease and without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, we hope to see you for your tattooing and body piercing needs in the future. Have a good day, everybody. Thank you
Have a good
for
Christmas,
watching
guys.
or listening.
Spread some love,
Later,
you
guys.
people.
Be nice to each other.